What is going on? I am here with a very special issue of Nintendo Power. I'm talking, of course, about the Mega Man 3 issue, Volume 20. Now, this is actually in really good condition. Damn. It's almost perfect condition. Lucky me. So yeah, I'm here with Volume 20, Mega Man 3, historic issue, absolutely historic issue. So Mega Man 3 brings back some pretty intense memories for me because this was one of my favorite games as a kid. Maybe even my favorite game for a little while there when I was in like 4th, 5th grade. It may well have been my favorite video game. Now, I didn't have very many systems growing up. I mostly played games at friends' houses. And let me tell you something. Forget Mario, forget Adventure Island, forget Zelda, forget Metroid. When I went over to someone's house, if they had Mega Man 3, that's what I was playing that day. Like, no question about it, no competition. Mega Man 3, that was it. Main thing I loved about this game was the music. The music was just so, oof. It just has this really incredible soundtrack, especially for an 8-bit game. The tempo and the sound, I don't know how to describe it, but it's absolutely on point. So this is easily one of my favorite games of all time. Even now, I have a very soft spot for this game. So let's dive in, shall we? Very first page, we see a rad to the max gentleman. At least he's not wearing sunglasses though. Table of contents, we've got Mega Man 3, America's favorite action man. Very good. Let's see, Player's Pulse. I usually pick out one letter from the Player's Pulse to read from any given issue. So for this one, let's see. All right, we're gonna go with the video spotlight. That's right, I'm going to spotlight the video spotlight letter. This is from T.C. Christensen of Midway, Ohio. No, sorry, Midway, Utah. It says, I am president of a club that goes by NESA. Our motto is, that was easy, quote unquote. Wait a minute. Didn't Staples, isn't that Staples' motto? That was easy. So Staples stole their motto from T.C. Christensen from Midway, Ohio, Utah. So if I were you, T.C. Christensen, and you see this, totally file suit against Staples. You've got a just landslide victory right here. Open and shut case. All the proof you need right here. Continuing with the letter. The other members and I are 17, and altogether we have finished more than 150 games. That 150 games, like that might not seem like a lot in 2020 when we've had decades and decades, but 150 games in 1989 or so when this issue came out. Let's double check that. I want to be exact here. January 1991. So still, 1991 when this issue came out, 150 games was a huge number. Anyway, moving on. It says, members Jason and Daniel have Game Boys that play through big speakers during lunch. The teachers love that. I've gone so far as hooking up Game Boy to a guitar amplifier. At first it sounded pretty obnoxious, but after a few adjustments, it sounded awesome. Sometimes we get together at a member's house and hook the NES up to a stereo. Now that is an idea. That sounds awesome. Some of the games that I've finished are Dragon Warrior, Final Fantasy, Shadowgate, Snake's Revenge, Ninja Gaiden, The Guardian Legend, and Ultima. I've videotaped most of my game endings so I can see them and show them to my friends without spending mega hours completing them again. I've also taped the cinema scenes, an exciting conclusion to make my own Ninja Gaiden the movie. This guy, he was 17 in 1991. He would totally fit in 2020. Seriously, he would fit in like the last decade or so with YouTube and just video making becoming such a widespread hobby. Like, this guy would have had a blast in the modern era as a YouTuber. It says, I love playing my NES, but it doesn't take over my life. The first love is beating percussion. Just make sure I'm reading that right. My first love is beating percussion, and I even won some soloist awards at jazz festivals. A tip for Final Fantasy. Some weapons and armor have magical powers. Be sure to take advantage of them. That is actually an outstanding tip. A lot of the tips that people send in with letters are just like kind of stating the obvious. A lot of people that play Final Fantasy don't realize that sometimes you can use armors as if they were items, like the heal helmet, the thunder staff, things like that, and they have really powerful effects. And in a game like that where magic usage is so limited, that can be a huge benefit. All right, moving on from the Player's Pulse, we jump right into Mega Man 3. We learn here that Rush's tail is actually a shortwave antenna. Very cool. Now, I really like this little circle over here that shows you all of the boss weaknesses. It shows you the pattern to the bosses and like what order to fight them in. So you can jump into that circle at any time and fight your way around it. Wait a minute, Gemini Man is weak to Search Snake. Okay, this circle is weird. This doesn't make any sense. Okay, never mind. This circle is actually not helpful at all because they're all out of order. It says use top spin against what, Spark Man or Snake Man, but it's actually what you use against Shadow Man. So like, what? So this circle is not useful at all. I take back everything I said. However, this little screen over here on the left with the stage select is very useful. Shows you the number of the stages and like what order to do them in. So it suggests doing Magnet Man first and Needle Man last. I mean, that sounds good, you know what I mean? Moving on, we've got the customary stage maps, which are always a good time, you know, Magnet Man, Hard Man. Man, I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I remember Hard Man stage particularly well because my friend that I used to play this with, like the main friend that I hung out the most, we would use that code that lets you make yourself invincible by like jumping into a pit. And we discovered very quickly that you couldn't use that code in Hard Man's level. So as a result, Hard Man's level was the one level that we always had to play normally. You know, it was so that level is definitely ingrained in my head because we would cheat on all the other ones. Anyway, moving on, we got Top Man, Shadow Man. Oh man, I remember all this. As a kid, I absolutely loved Top Man's stage music, but my favorite stage music, well, I'll get to that. We got Spark Man, Snake Man, another great stage theme. Gemini Man, interesting level. It takes place in space. And then we got Needle Man. Needle Man is actually my favorite stage theme, like no doubt about it. I love Needle Man's stage music. Now, looking back on it, there are a couple of other stage themes that I think are better. But when I was a kid, Needle Man's stage was absolutely my favorite track in this game. I loved that track. Like the temperature has dropped about 10 degrees since I started recording. So I'm gonna have to bury the New World Order, just like WWE did. There we go. Whew, Chicago temperatures are no joke. So here we've got the Doc Robot stages, Metal Man, Quick Man. I think that's so cool that they brought back the Mega Man 2 bosses, or at least some of them, in this kind of roundabout way. Or maybe it was all of them. Yeah, actually I think they brought back all of the Mega Man 2 bosses. But yeah, very cool stuff. It's too bad they all look like Doc Robot and not like their original selves. That is a helicopter. What is this place? It's freezing cold. It's noisy. There's helicopters. Man, I always had a lot of trouble with Doc Robots for whatever reason. That's where I run into a bit of a wall with this game, like playing it now. And I wonder if it's because when I was a kid, I never actually played the Doc Robot levels. Like, we would just play the first 8. We didn't go past that. And the thing is that we would usually start at the beginning every time, so we would beat like 2 or 3 stages and then we'd stop playing. And then the next time we would just start from the beginning and beat like 2 or 3 different stages. But we never actually like really used our passwords, except maybe like the F6 or whatever gives you the energy tanks. We would do that. We'd like punch in that one little password just for the energy tanks. But other than that, you know, we didn't really care about beating the game. We just wanted to play like our favorite stages over and over again, which was kind of nice, you know, back then, back before I was, you know, concerned with like actually, you know, getting to the end of a game and beating it. I could just play the first couple stages over and over and over again, and I basically had all the time in the world. I'm gonna start getting verklempt if I keep talking about this though. So moving on, we've got one more Doc Robot stage with Crash Man, and then we've got the Fortress overview. I love the way for like the last few levels they would always just give you a brief overview. They wouldn't really show you maps or spell it out or anything. And what that does is it leaves a lot of mystery for the player to discover things on their own as they, forge onward into those last few levels. So yeah, I always appreciate how Nintendo Power would do that. And before I move on from Mega Man 3, I want to tell a quick story. When I was a kid playing Mega Man 3 with my buddies and everything, my one particular buddy that I played the most with, I had like the most memories with, kid from the Netherlands, really cool guy. But funny little story. So when I was a kid, he and I would go to the arcade and we would play Street Fighter 2. And every time we play Street Fighter 2, he would play as E Honda with the 100-hand slap, the bo bo bo, so that you can't see me in the air. So he would play as E Honda, and he would just absolutely slap me silly with the 100-hand slap. And I would go in there trying to like punch and kick and whatever else. He would just do the 100-hand slap over and over again. And I was just like, okay, like how am I supposed to attack this guy if he's just gonna keep doing that move over and over again? So I would try doing like jump kicks, and I would try all kinds of stuff because he would always beat me with that stupid move from Edmund Honda. That's right, I used his full name because I'm angry. So, but here's the thing, here's the kicker in all this. So around that same time, right, after I found out the secret, which I was talking to people and I was like, I can't beat E Honda, what do I do? And people were like, oh, all you have to do is just like throw a projectile. Like if he's doing the 100-hand slap, just throw a Hadouken at him. I'm like, what's a Hadouken? How do I do that? So people explained to me, well, you do, and it'll go right through his 100-hand slap. And he probably won't dodge it because he's all locked up, right? And I'm like, what? Projectiles, Hadoukens, like what? But unfortunately, it was too late to get revenge on that point, even though now I understood like how to beat this guy. It was too late because we weren't really playing Street Fighter anymore. So I got my revenge when I got Mega Man X for the Super NES. And he was coming over and playing Mega Man X with me. And I told him one day, I said, hey, there's a trick with Mega Man X. If you plug in the second controller, you can actually control the bosses. So all you have to do is just plug in the second controller and just, sit right here and just press the buttons and stuff will happen. And he's like, oh, wow, that's awesome. I didn't know you could do that. I was like, yeah, it's a very secret cheat. Go ahead and plug in that second controller. So he plugs it in. He's sitting there. I'm playing the game. I'm playing Mega Man X. I get to a boss. I think it was like Chill Penguin or whatever boss I picked. And he starts like pressing buttons on the controller. And he actually believed that he was controlling the boss because it just coincidentally, the boss's movements actually kind of coincided with the buttons he was pressing, apparently. It was just like purely coincidental. Keep in mind that we were like 10 years old at the time or 11, somewhere in there. So keep that in mind as well. And also I was quite devious telling him that because what happened was I went through like 3 or 4 stages and I never passed the controller to him. So like normally we would pass it back and forth, but I never passed the controller to him because he was getting to control all the bosses. So he was like actually happy with that. And he was just sitting there like, oh yeah, this is awesome. I love controlling the bosses. And I'm sitting there like, whoa, I got him. I don't know if I actually told him that he wasn't controlling the bosses and that it was all in his head, or if I just let him believe that. But either way, it was kind of my vengeance for what he did to me in Street Fighter with E Honda. So yeah, thank you Mega Man X for that. Anyway, on second thought, that story probably belongs in the Mega Man X issue video, but because it's the friend that I most associate with Mega Man 3, I figured I'd tell the story here. But anyway, when we played Mega Man 3, he didn't pull any tricks on me there. It was all just good, clean fun. Next, we've got a game called The Immortal, which is a Dungeons and Dragons type game. It has very, very unappealing graphics, though. It's like this weird kind of graph paper looking map, and there's just really, yeah. It's not particularly fantastical. I'm sure for its time it was really good though. In classified information this month, we've got a code for Final Fantasy. Let's see. It's not really a code, never mind. We've got a trick for Final Fantasy. Here's a game called Deja Vu that I'm completely unfamiliar with. I am surprised to see a .22 pistol revolver making it into the pages of Nintendo Power, though. That's a very realistic gun, and for 1991 especially, that is surprising to see that in the pages of this magazine. This magazine, which was typically very kid-friendly. All right, so I've got some bad news. Unfortunately, the rest of this video was essentially lost. The last 10 minutes or so got cut off, 10 to 15 minutes. And it's a real loss because I got some very nice footage of the Chicago skyline as the sun went down and everything kind of lit up. I was really proud of the shot that I got as I did the last few minutes of this review. Unfortunately, we lost it. I'm gonna finish the video. I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna do it over again, except I'm gonna be doing it in Boston. So I'm gonna do the rest of the video in Boston, and hopefully it'll come out as well as the original recording did. And who knows? I might just get that sunset after all. I think it might actually turn out better than it would have. Whew. All right, we made it back in one piece, no less. I couldn't have asked for a nicer day. I'll tell you what, it was freezing cold over in Chicago, much nicer here. Anyway, there's really not a whole lot left in this issue, so I guess cutting me off wasn't really that bad. There's just a few things left to look at here. The Game Boy section, not a lot going on there. It was pretty bare bones at this point in time because we're still really early in the magazine's life, and it was still very much NES focused at this point in time. We do have this interesting Miracle keyboard here though, and it teaches you how to play piano, which is actually pretty cool. Destiny of an Emperor all over Counselor's Corner, absolutely brimming with Destiny of an Emperor. You've got 3 Destiny of an Emperors and 1 Dungeon Magic, whatever that is. And let's see, our Game Counselor of the Month this month is, man, this is an impossible choice. I mean, I don't know if you can see these guys, but this is an absolutely impossible choice. I do not know who our Game Counselor of the Month is this month. Let's just say it's a 4-way tie. Although Caesar Filori is really giving us the bedroom eyes there, so he might have the edge if it comes down to it on the Game Counselor of the Month. We've got some Chrysalis. How do I defeat the Emperor? You know, Chrysalis is one of the probably 10 or so NES games that I still really want to play and haven't yet. It's on my agenda. It's on my list. Eventually, we'll see. Got a players poll contest about Captain N the Game Master. I have never seen Captain N either, much like Chrysalis. Something else I missed out on. But here it is, Captain N the Game Master. I would love to see like a few episodes of that. Finally, top 30. Super Mario Bros. 3 occupying the top spot. No surprise there. Number 2, Final Fantasy, the original Final Fantasy. And they said that RPGs weren't popular until 1997. Right here we can clearly see in the 80s. Was this the 80s? January 1991. Boom, Final Fantasy, 2nd place in the top 30 as voted by the readers. Number 1, of course, Super Mario Bros. 3. No question about that. Number 3, Chrysalis. Chrysalis just popping up all over the place. I'm going to have to play Chrysalis at some point. Pretty much a given now after reading this issue. Number 4, Mega Man 2, because Mega Man 3 was probably too recent to make it into this issue, unfortunately. We've also got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Legend of Zelda, Tetris, Super Mario Brothers 2, Dragon Warrior 2, and Back to the Future for the NES. Well, they're all for the NES because the Game Boy has a separate chart at this point. They have not yet mixed and matched and so forth. Oh man, hold on, I have to show you something. Check this out. There's an actual cruise parked right here next to me. Not a whole lot left. We've got Metal Storm and the Packwatch. Looks very Xenogearsy, actually. Very Xenogearsy mech here. Early precursor to Xenogears on the evolutionary chart is Metal Storm, perhaps. We've also got the very first glimpses of the Super Famicom, and it does not look at all like it would end up looking in the Super NES form that we here in the United States would all get to know about a year later. We've got Super Mario Brothers 4, Super Mario World. Wow. See, a few of us have speculated for a long time that Super Mario World was originally going to be called Super Mario Bros. 4. This confirms it. Boom. And on the back we've got some hot buttons. And that pretty much concludes it. That is the Mega Man 3 issue, and I'm very, very happy to be back here, back from Chicago. Whew. I can tell you a thing or two about Chicago, but I'm not going to go there in this video, or possibly ever. But let me just tell you, I'm very glad to be here in Boston. Magnificent city. And I'm glad to be reading the Mega Man 3 issue of Nintendo Power. This is one of the most fun issues that I've had a chance to read pretty much since I started doing this. And it's another one that I didn't get to read when it originally happened, or any time after that. So this is a new one for me. And better late than never. And it was really fun to go back and read this. Take a little trip down memory lane with Mega Man 3 and read a Nintendo Power that I have never read before this video. Thank you for joining me. And you know what? It looks like I'm going to get my sunset after all. So I'll see you guys next time.
No, there's not any cream in here, I swear. I swear. What? No, there's not. Come on, there's no cream in here. See? You're crazy. I love you. God damn it. Hey, pal, let me finish. Yes. Oh, damn. Come away with me. Don't be afraid. With a tongue like that, we can make millions.